Stop asking what the best AR-15 is. That is the wrong question, and the industry loves that you keep asking it, because it lets them sell you a $3,000 rifle when a $1,200 rifle shoots the same groups, runs the same drills, and passes the same round counts. But here is the other side of that trap. It also lets them sell you a $300 rifle that was never tested, never proofed, and will fail the moment you need it most. Some brands are charging you pennies for a pipe bomb. Others are charging you a mortgage payment for a logo. And sitting right between them, ignored by the hype cycle, are budget builds that will outshoot both ends of that spectrum without blinking. Today I am showing you 5 AR-15 brands that are robbing you blind, and 5 budget builds that will embarrass every single one of them. By the end, you will know exactly where the line is between smart money and wasted money, and it is not where you think. Let us start at the bottom of the barrel, and I mean that literally. Number 5 on the robbing you blind list is Bear Creek Arsenal. BCA has positioned itself as the everyman brand, the company that believes every American should afford a premium AR. That is a noble marketing pitch, and if the rifles backed it up, we would not be having this conversation. But the data tells a different story. Their SiteJabber profile sits at 2.7 stars across hundreds of reviews, with recurring complaints about improperly machined parts, barrels that loosen after 80 rounds of shooting, and trigger assemblies that fail to reset mid-string. Multiple owners have reported bolts with no magnetic particle inspection and no high-pressure testing, which are the 2 quality gates that separate a functioning bolt carrier group from a shrapnel generator. The honest caveat is that some people get a BCA rifle that runs perfectly fine as a range plinker. The problem is the word some. When your quality control is a coin flip, you are not selling a rifle, you are selling a lottery ticket, and the prize for losing is a catastrophic failure. Number 4 is Anderson Manufacturing, and this one stings because for years, Anderson was the budget king. They were the brand that people called the Honda of lower receivers. Affordable, functional, unglamorous, everywhere. Then in July of 2025, Ruger acquired Anderson and immediately discontinued the brand. Not restructured, not relaunched, discontinued. And here is where it becomes a robbery. Ruger voided all Anderson warranties, every single one. If you bought an Anderson AM-15 at any point in its entire production history, you now have 0 factory support for any defect, from a minor out-of-spec pinhole to a critical failure. Millions of rifles, millions of lowers, all of them are now market orphans, and if something breaks, you are on your own. Number 3 is a ghost wearing a famous name, Bushmaster. The original Bushmaster was a respected manufacturer. Then Cerberus Capital Management bought them, folded them into the Freedom Group, alongside Remington, DPMs, and a half-dozen other brands, and did what private equity always does. They cut costs, pushed volume, and hollowed out the engineering. Quality collapsed across the entire Freedom Group portfolio. Bushmaster rifles from that era became notorious for shortcuts, inconsistent assembly, and parts that would not have passed inspection at the companies these brands used to be. The Freedom Group eventually imploded into bankruptcy in 2020, and the brands were scattered and sold in pieces. The Bushmaster name still exists in some form today, but the institutional knowledge, the tooling, the quality culture, all of that is gone. What remains is a label, and a label does not keep a bolt carrier group in spec. If you are shopping used and you see a Bushmaster from the post-2007 era, treat it with extreme skepticism. The brand on the roll mark is not the brand that built the rifle's reputation. Quick pause here, I want to hear from you. If you own an AR from any of these brands, good or bad, tell me your story in the comments. Real data from real owners is worth more than any tier list on the internet. Number 2 is going to make some people uncomfortable, because this is not a cheap brand. This is an expensive one. The Sig Sauer Max Spear Lieutenant. On paper, this rifle is a masterpiece. Short-stroke piston system, folding stock, multi-caliber capability, and a lineage that traces directly to the XM7 military contract. In practice, it has problems that a rifle at its price point should never have. Independent testing documented barrel flex and accuracy shift when accessories were mounted to the handguard, because the barrel attachment system uses set screws that allow movement under stress. That is a design issue, not a manufacturing defect, which means it affects the entire product line, not just individual lemons. Owners on forums have reported handguard screws stripping over time and zero shift with mounted lasers and optics. At a price point that approaches or exceeds $2,000, this rifle is trading heavily on military association and brand prestige, while delivering a platform that a purpose-built AR from a company like BCM or Daniel Defense handles more reliably at the same price or less. The SIG name is not the problem. The problem is paying a premium for innovation that has not yet been fully sorted. And number one, the single most overpriced AR-15 you can buy is the Knights Armament SR-15. Now before the internet erupts, let me be clear. The SR-15 is a beautifully engineered rifle. The E3 bolt is rated for roughly 5 times the standard bolt service life. The ambidextrous controls are excellent. The fit and finish are impeccable. None of that is in question. What is in question is whether any of it justifies a price tag north of $3,000, scarce parts availability, hostile retail distribution that makes buying one feel like applying to a private club, and a proprietary parts ecosystem that limits your options if anything needs replacing. You can buy a BCM Recce 16 for $1,400 that delivers 95% of the SR-15's performance with universal parts availability, legendary quality control, and a company that actually wants to sell you a rifle. The KAC tax is a collector's premium, not a performance premium. And the moment you accept that distinction, you stop being robbed. Now let us talk about the rifles that will outshoot every brand on that list without requiring a second mortgage. Number 5 is the Palmetto State Armory PA-15 with the FN Cold Hammer forged barrel. PSA has a complicated reputation because their baseline rifles have had quality control inconsistencies. That is the honest caveat. But their premium and CHF barreled uppers, sourced from FN, the same manufacturer that builds barrels for the United States military M4 platform, are a different animal entirely. For around $500, you get a chrome-lined, cold hammer forged barrel, a properly staked gas key, and a rifle that has documented reliability across thousands of rounds in independent testing. That is not the same product as their lowest tier builds, and understanding the difference is how you win the budget game. Number 4 is the Smith & Wesson M&P 15 Sport 3. Smith & Wesson has been building firearms since 1852. They are not a startup chasing hype. The Sport 3 ships with a forged 7075 receiver, a chrome-lined barrel with a 1-in-8 twist, mag-pull furniture, and an upgraded flat-face trigger, all for around $600. This rifle runs. It does not need a break-in period. It does not need special ammunition. It does not need you to cross your fingers. It just works. And it works because Smith & Wesson has over 170 years of quality culture behind it. Number 3 is the IWI Zion 15. IWI, Israel Weapon Industries, built the Tavor and the Galil. They know a thing or two about making rifles that function in the worst conditions on Earth. The Zion 15 is their entry into the American AR market, and it landed like a thunderbolt. Cold hammer forged barrel, B5 systems furniture, 15-inch free-float handguard, and build quality that reviewers consistently describe as punching well above its weight class. For around $800, you are getting a rifle assembled by a company with actual military contract experience, not influencer contract experience. Number 2 is the Aero Precision M4E1. Aero occupies a unique position in this market because they manufacture receivers and components for dozens of other AR brands, while also selling under their own name. Their M4E1 platform features enhanced upper and lower receivers with a threaded bolt catch pin, integrated trigger guard, and flared magwell. The machining is 7075 T6 aluminum with Type 3 hardcoat anodizing, which is the same spec as brands charging twice the price. A complete Aero M4E1 build runs between $900 and $1,200 and delivers 1 to 1.5 MOA accuracy, tight fitment, and a level of fit and finish that approaches duty grade. For builders, Aero is the platform. There is nothing else at this price that competes. And number 1, the budget build that outright embarrasses the entire overpriced segment is the BCM Recce 16. Bravo Company Manufacturing built its reputation one principle at a time: conservative gas port sizing so the rifle does not beat itself to death, cold hammer forged chrome-lined barrels, Every bolt carrier group is magnetic particle inspected and high pressure tested, then individually proofed. Gas keys are properly staked, not cosmetically staked. And the quality control is so consistent that BCM has become the default recommendation from professional firearms instructors, military unit armorers, and competition shooters who need a rifle that will run tens of thousands of rounds without a hiccup. The Recce 16 costs around $1,400. That is less than half the price of a Knight's Armament AR-15. And in every independent reliability test, every documented high round count evaluation, every professional instructor's range report, the BCM keeps pace with or outperforms rifles costing twice as much. That is not an opinion, that is data. And here is the principle that ties this entire conversation together. The question is not how much did you spend, the question is what did you spend it on? Because a $1,200 rifle with a quality barrel, a proofed bolt, and $2,000 worth of training and ammunition behind it will outshoot a $3,000 safe queen every single day. The brands robbing you blind are counting on you not knowing that. Now you do. Spend smart, train hard, and if you have built a budget rifle that outperforms its price tag, I want to hear about it in the comments. Those are the stories that matter.